take a step back.
Good day everyone, this is going to be my third guide for PvP. It's going to be a bit different than the previous two. In the case that it's not going to be purely match talk, I'm going to be giving you tactics or tricks that will help you with your PvP. It's small things, it's some large mind settings, but yeah, that's basically going to be the content of this video, so enjoy watching it. So the first tactic is a general, a simple one, but something you have to do before you ever enter PvP, which is rebind the dodge roll and break free keys. Now, the general, the default settings from the game for dodge roll is that you have to double tap the movement key. Now, this is going to have a delay before the roll actually happens. So the moment that you think of doing it and the moment that your roll is going to happen are going to be pretty far out. And rebinding that is going to give you a better response. And it's also going to remove accidents because double tapping the arrow key, suppose if you're moving and then you stop and you decide you want to move again, if you do that too quickly, you're also going to do a roll dodge by accident, and you want to prevent that from happening as well. So I rebind it to mouse wheel down. Now this is going to allow me to spam it as well, and it's going to give a better response because you just have to, it's a really quick movement. My finger is already right next to the mouse wheel, so right after I think of the roll dodge already happens. Now I was talking about the spam, it also just allows me to keep on spamming the roll dodge button until it actually happens. Sometimes there's a delay, but this way I'm always sure that the roll dodge happens as soon as possible for the game. Now about break free, same story, like the default setting is left and right mouse button. It's also going to have a delay before it happens, it's also going to create accidents, and I have rebound that to mouse wheel up, so scroll up. Also allows me to spam it, so it happens as soon as possible for the game, removes accidents, and just gives a smoother gameplay experience for me than using the default settings. I highly recommend doing it because everybody I know that has done it has gotten a better experience out of it, so do it if you haven't done it already. Now to stick with the settings theme, you can also change your maximum zoom out in the settings. So like your camera, if you go to third person, you can zoom it out to the maximum. But in the settings, if you go to camera settings and then over here, you can change the field of view. If you set that to maximum, you can like scroll out a bit further than normal, and it's going to help with the environmental awareness. Now more about that later. The next tactic is a bit more of a trick. That is, after you fall down from a considerable height, your character is going to do a small roll if you keep on moving. Now this happens if you keep the movement key pressed. The roll is purely roleplay, it doesn't have any actual use, it doesn't like dodge any attacks or something. And this roll is like about a second where you're doing nothing. It often makes the difference that in the case that like if there's a large group behind you, they can hit you with things during that second, things that you couldn't avoid because yeah, you literally can't do anything while you're rolling. Now the way to solve this is to not hold the movement key anymore after you fall down. In that case your character will take like a knee, and this small animation is going to have no delay for your other skills, so you can cast stuff while you're taking the knee, and it's actually going to be animation casted as well. Now this just removes the delay between falling down, hitting the ground, and like casting stuff, and it's just going to help you to respond quicker. And for me, it's often been a lifesaver to take a knee instead of rolling. The next tactic is a bit more of a general one, which is that you have to train your environmental awareness and you have to be able to use that as well. You have to know where you are, you have to know where you can go, and what is happening around you. I think this is the biggest difference between open world PvP, especially 1vx, and for example dueling. Because like in dueling, you only the skills you cast and what the enemy does, like the one person does, matters. But in open world you have to take care of a lot of like factors around you. For example, the rocks, or maybe like in a Lesser bridge, you have to like watch out for so many things, which is not something you have to do anywhere else in PvP. And also, of course, the other people, like there's a lot of people on your screen, you have to keep track of what they're doing, you have to keep track of where they're going. And yeah, have environmental awareness for that, because that way you'll be able to see things coming really quickly, and you're going to have a much quicker response to them. Now, examples of things that are important to note is like snipes that are cast in front of you. You have to see it coming. Also, like incoming zergs in the corner of your screen, you have to notice immediately there's a big movement over there. They're all coming to you. You have to know immediately how many people there are and what you're going to do to deal with them. Are you going to run? Are you going to stand your ground? Based on what you see, based on your environmental awareness. Now, when I talk about using the environmental awareness, for a sorcerer, I'm mainly talking about rocks. You have to get to a rock if a Zerg chases you, because it's the only way I know to reliably deal with that many people chasing you. It's going to spread them apart. You're going to be able to just do a range burst on one of them, and then one by one you can take them down like that. Now, also for other classes, for example, Stamina Templar, I often use towers for that one to PvP in. It works much better than rocks, I think, because you don't have streak and you have many snare removals, so you can move around the tower really quickly, which is hard to do for a sorcerer because you don't have any of those snare removals. Of course, also in small groups, this is important for choke points. Most people know it just by instinct, but it's good to have a reminder of that you have to use those things and you have to know your way around them. Like often, I've already been to a place where I lead the Zerg to. So, like, if I get there, I know where to go, and they often don't know where to go. So, for example, if I take this rock here at Sejanus, this is one of like my favorite rocks, to be honest, to lead like a Zerg to. Now, the sorcerer is the only one that can get up this rock to begin with, like in independent way. You just streak, like with a bit of an angle, and then you can get up here. Now, other people can get up here if they charge you, but if you're quick enough, you can just do like a roll dodge to keep your movement going as well, and just getting to this little gap over here. Now, in this gap, nobody's going to be able to hit you. There can be 50 people outside of there, but they can't do anything. And that's like I think a good example already of how powerful the environmental use is in open world PvP. In case of this rock, it doesn't end here. You can then get up over here, and you can just, if you want, keep on going, get off the rock, and then just run the other way. But often stay there because people just circle around the rock, and I can just range one down one by one. Now, sometimes there's people in this little gap over here as well. If I go on top of this structure over here, I can put an oil and just oil them down as well. Also really good in small scale groups. You can get some people in there, get a sorcerer on top of the structure, and yeah, when the Zerg comes and they just Zerg down the allies that are in this little gap, you can just oil them down. And it's a really nice tactic, I think, for small scale. But it doesn't end there. You can get back up this rock over here, then run around it, and then this is again something only a sorcerer can do. You can streak on top of the second rock, like so. Now you have a really like broad view of what's happening around you. You know everything, you see everything. And the moment you see someone like that turn your back to you that isn't paying attention, you can just burst them down really quickly. And that's also like really powerful for rocks. Now you see the layout of this rock here. It exists out of two parts, right? And the developers often copy these things all around Cyrodiil. They just like turn them around a bit or put it upside down or whatever. But this is a part that you're going to see a lot in Cyrodiil. Now you can get up the second rock as well, but you have to watch out that you don't just go straight and you streak straight to the other side. You have to take a bit of an angle and then streak sideways towards the other point. So yeah, that's a really good example, I think, of how the environment can have a big difference on your gameplay. The next trick is only for PC users. I'm sorry, consoles, but it's a really useful add-on, I think, for PvP, and it's named buff timers. Now there are many add-ons to display your buffs, but I think this is the best one because it allows you to customize bars for certain buffs that you want. For example, on my Stamina Templar, as you can see here, I have a buff for rally, and I have one for the major resolve and major protection. This keeps the UI clean. Like I've compared it to the in-game buffs that you can put up. Like it's a bit of a mess, I think, because you have like 20 boxes that all indicate a different buff, and they move around as well. I think it's really hard to keep up with whether your buffs are up or not. So this thing was like it's really clear, it's really simple. You can show the seconds, like how many seconds are left, but also just the bar and the color will give you like a really quick overview. You instantly know how much time there's left before your buff runs out, and it's going to help you a lot with sustaining your resources as well because you're going to be very efficient in keeping your buffs up with this add-on. I think it's also going to work better than if you just rely on your experience with the class and just like wait for the buff to end based on your feeling and then recast it. You're still going to make mistakes of like a couple of seconds, not many, but you're still going to make a mistake. And this add-on just instantly solves it, even if you just started playing the class. It's super easy to use and super useful. It's going to give you a big advantage, I think, of people that don't use it. The next thing is also a bit of a trick. Basically, it's a bit of a rule that I have in my head as well, which is that you have to feed your mounts stamina before you do the carrying capacity. Now, yeah, speed still goes first because otherwise you're just like doing riding simulator all day, so you get the speed. But after that, get stamina before you get carrying capacity. I know it's very tempting to go like max out that to 60 before anything else to deal with inventory issues, but you can deal with them in other ways. And even if you have it maxed out, you're still going to have issues with it. This stamina, if you invest in that, is going to prevent a lot of like stupid deaths. Because if you just like sprinting on your horse, you're out of stamina, and then there's some a small groups comes out that would be nice to like fight them, but instead they just light attack you. You get dismounted and you're like on the ground doing nothing for a couple of seconds. That's going to just open you up completely, and they're going to be able to kill you. Then it's a really stupid test because otherwise I could have been able to fight them, to have a good fight with them, maybe to kite them and all. So this stamina is going to make sure that I am able to do it. Also helps with ganks because like often people need like two shots before you're dead. One shots aren't really like that common to be honest. Like it's often like two snipes or whatever it is people use. Now if you get dismounted after the first snipe, yeah, it doesn't really matter because you're doing nothing the second and the third snipe maybe is going to hit you. Another stupid death that could have been prevented by simply putting stamina on your horse. So go and do that instead of carrying capacity. So the next tactic is the in-game sounds, and that you have to keep them on at all times. I think in PvP. Now I also run music while I'm PvPing, but I think it's very important that I keep the in-game sounds on. It's going to just warn you for so many things. Good examples are snipes when they're unbugged, of course. Sometimes they bug out and multiple ones hit you at the same time. But in general, I think it's really reliable to hear the snaps coming. Same goes for the overload ganks. And a special case is like when there's a large group of people behind you and they're about to attack you. There's often a couple of them that just go and start light attacking you with like a bow or a fire staff. And I don't know if this is a bug or not, but it's really like loud and you can clearly hear it coming. And this is like a really quick warning for me that there's something behind me I need to look up really quick. So that's why I keep the sound on. It's just really useful to keep to hear things coming. The next tactic is a bit of a rule that I always have to keep in mind, and that I have to prioritize my life above their death. Now, I often see the people I fight making the same mistake as well. They're just so focused on killing me, or I am so focused on killing them. Like we just forget about our healing, about keeping our health up, about managing our resources, and then like when something unfortunate happens, we don't know what to do anymore because we can't do anything anymore. We've been too focused on other things, and yeah, there's no chance anymore, and then you just die. And like when you die, you don't have a second chance anymore to like instantly rest somehow and then keep on fighting. But if you take care of your resource management and your healing, you might miss out on a kill every now and then because you didn't go like all the way through for pushing them. But you always have a second chance to do it. You always have a second chance to make burst to try and get the enemy down. The last tactic is one of the most interesting ones, I think, which is jumping. Now, I know there's a lot of people that get triggered at the sorcerer doing it, but it does actually have uses to go and jump. The first one is exactly that. People get triggered at it. It's just a mental advantage that you will have over them. They won't take care of their health anymore, as I mentioned before. And they just go and like chase you wherever you want to go. You can go to that rock I mentioned earlier. If you have like a couple of triggered people at Sidianus, you just you get them to chase you. That you can do that by just killing one of them, and then they usually get mad. But if there are too many, like just jumping around, it's often going to trigger them, and they're just going to chase you all the way over. You can lead them to an area where you can get them, where you can separate them and kill them separately. And that's something that's like really useful for jumping, is that it just gives you the advantage instantly before even the single attack has been fired. Now, the other uses that are like maybe a bit more practical is that it's going to keep your momentum going even when you're rooted or CC'd. So imagine you're jumping and then suddenly you get fossilized during the jump. Now you're going to keep on moving until the jump ends, while if you were just walking around, you just instantly stand still and you're basically fully into the enemy's control. While when you're jumping, you just keep on moving. And that's also going to help you just instantly getting out of there. It's like as if the route never has been there, because I know I was rooted during the jump. I can respond instantly when I land and just get out of there, and basically the control never happened over me. Now, one thing you have to watch out while doing this is if you're on a rock or maybe on a tower, just basically on a place where there's a lot of danger for fall damage, and you don't have that much place. Like, it's advisable not to jump too much. Be careful when you do it, because if you make a single mistake in your direction and you were jumping at the same time, yeah, you can't change it. You keep your momentum and you just jump off a rock and take a lot of fall damage. You possibly even die. So watch out for that. Another use for jumping is that you're going to be able to target people you usually wouldn't be able to target. If there's like a small like ledge or a rock or maybe just a hill between you and the enemy, you won't be able to see them or target them without jumping. But if you do, you'll be able to get your burst going just by like timing your skills with the jumps. So that's it for these 8 tactics. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from this. Yeah, and have a good day.